Hello and welcome to Storytelling. When you take drastic measures, you are constantly plagued by doubts. How could I have prevented this from happening? What steps could I have taken to avoid being in this situation? I was pretty sure there was nothing I could have done. My options were limited. How do you persuade an adult that the things they're doing will ruin everything they claim to value? They are not subject to coercion. All you can do is stand by and take the fallout on your own. That's where I came to be. My devoted spouse determined that doing this would show how much we meant to one another, how strong our love was, and how much we loved each other. I thought it proved how naive and pampered she was, and how little love she had for me. I'm just a regular guy leading a regular life. I'm not a romantic, sensitive, strong hero. Like everybody else, I am not perfect. I focus too much on myself and not enough on others. I put in too much work. Sometimes I lose my temper when I shouldn't. It just occurs, it's not something I do on purpose. I'm a person. Work and events always seem to get in the way of life. Amanda and I have been wed for 19 years. We had sex every 2 or 3 days. We both liked it, and it was always good. When we found the time, we were both eager for more. We were distracted by other things, like football, a good book, or a TV show. Or perhaps the girls had something in mind for us to do. When it was necessary or one of us was horny, we made time. She'd never made love to me, and I'd never declined her offer to make love. Life was going smoothly, and things were getting better financially every day. We had 2 daughters, ages 14 and 16, named Olivia and Audra. They were extraordinary, even though I was just an ordinary person. Our union was going well, and the girls were radiant and content. My lovely wife then started to have ideas. "We're plain vanilla," she stated, "and we need to spice things up." I was ready. I wouldn't play if she wasn't happy with our sexual life, but I wasn't unhappy at all. It was different positions at first. I had a great time and was in excellent physical condition. This was excellent. I was cool with it all. Everything else was amazing, but sex was great. It was role-playing after that. I was clueless about the source of that. Women's magazines, girlfriends, or some stupid TV show. It was stupid after about 3 times of being fun. When I was inside a hot woman, it was too difficult for me to focus and keep my Leonardo DiCaprio persona intact, let alone remember that she was Scarlett Johansson. I vowed to stop doing it. She felt suddenly irritated. One day, she said, "Corwin, how long has it been since you went on a date?" "Last Friday, I took you out to that Italian place you've been wanting to go to," I replied. "The girls were left overnight by your mom while we went to the movies." "Recall?" She clarified, "I don't mean with me." "How long has it been since you went out with someone else?" "Jesus, Amanda, are you accusing me of something?" I inquired. "No, honey, that isn't the case at all. I would like to know if you can recall the name of the last girl you went out with, other than myself." "Yes, I do," I responded. "It was approximately 2 weeks after I met you, and her name was Donna. We kind of got into a heated argument over that date, so I think you might remember her as well." She questioned, "Do you ever miss it?" "Oh my God," I chuckled. I recall how terrible it was. That particular date was good, but the dating experience as a whole wasn't. Gaining the courage to approach a girl, fearing rejection, and uncomfortable initial exchanges. It was truly horrifying, more like incredibly traumatizing, I remarked. "What caused this to happen, Amanda?" She said, "I was just curious if you've ever felt like you'd like to go on a date with someone else." I told her, "No, I've never felt like that. I suppose fantasies are common, but no. I seem to recall you telling me you wanted to be exclusive with me after I went out with Donna, and you seemed really angry about it." "That's exactly what I wanted too," I decided. "Had my feelings been any different, I would never have proposed to you. That is the definition of marriage, you only go on dates with your partner." She let it go, and for a month I didn't hear any more stupidity. On this Friday evening, we had just wrapped up our passionate kisses. It went well, there was no silly things like tying her up or posing as Bobo the clown. A man and his wife were destroying each other's minds, just the two of us. She must have been let off 6 or 7 times when I came. We were kind of floating in that post-orgasmic bliss with her half on top of me until she completely destroyed the atmosphere. Corwin, I noticed the way CI was observing you this evening. She requested that you invite her to dance. Our friend from Amanda's workplace is CI. She's been in our lives forever. After going out to a club, we had dinner with her and another work buddy, Angela. CRA is a very attractive and kind woman who is approximately 5 years our junior. Well, that's very flattering, but I only want to dance with you, I replied. I wouldn't be jealous if you asked her, she replied. That's nice, but then you don't have any reason to be, because I'm not going to ask her, I replied. Would you be jealous if I danced with another man, she inquired. I guess your brother would be okay, I replied. Even though it was a joke, she didn't laugh. I've never cared if you dance with guys who asked me nicely and kept their hands where they belong. Did you want to dance with anyone there? I don't recall being asked, she remarked. No, I just had a question, she replied. I wasn't sure where this was going, but it wasn't to my taste. I got up and went into the den since I didn't think I could sleep. I watched her come to the door and observe me for a minute while I was playing a video game. She went back to bed after I avoided looking at her. I didn't join her until after she had fallen asleep. For 2 months, everything was quiet until we attended Angela's promotion party. There was a good band playing at the White Rhino. Amanda was speaking with Corin, the CBRA, while the rest of us sat around in a large circular booth. SB desires to dance, stated Amanda. Would you be a gentleman and dance with her? How in the hell? That 2 month ago conversation came back to me. I was now in a very uncomfortable situation. I really didn't want to dance with her, even though she was a great friend and I didn't want to offend her. That gorgeous body against my skin wasn't going anywhere nice, but I had no idea how to politely leave it. While I enjoyed dancing, I'm not very good at it. I was going to look awkward, and he was going to be like a big cat, graceful and smooth. I got up since there was no way out. I put out my hand and said, I think they're playing our song, and she slid out gracefully, her gorgeous brown thighs showing off beneath her short blue dress. The band launched into a slow song after the song ended. Why not? She felt as though she was meant to be next to me. Her mop of black curls was almost covering my face, and I could feel those luscious big breasts against my chest. And she smelled good. Her large brown eyes were like liquid pools as she gazed up at me, and her dark skin revealed white teeth. She's not really dark black, rather, she's more of a coffee or cream color. Thanks for dancing with me, Corwin, she said. Amanda mentioned that you enjoy dancing and that you wouldn't mind. Ever since my breakup with Bruce, I haven't danced. Well, I said, you're a very good dancer. I don't mind at all dancing with you, actually. See, I really do love you, and I really like you. Although you're the sweetest girl I've ever met, I don't think this is a good idea for me because you're so hot. She laughed. Corwin, you're safe with me. I also adore you. Though Amanda is my best friend, I would be all over you if you weren't married. All right, let's just enjoy this one dance. We completed the song after I gave her a little squeeze. Amanda wasn't at the booth when we returned. I glanced around and saw her white and black dress. She was on the dance floor with a young man who had a Nordic appearance. He had his hands much lower than they should have been, and she was laughing right up in his face. She saw me standing there, trying to find her. She winked at me and grinned. I was furious. Angry, really, very angry. In order to dance with that asshole, she had sent me off with CB. I dropped a few 20s on the table and headed for the door. Halfway to the door, CBRA watched me, and then she ran after me. I made it about halfway to the car when she caught me. Corwin, give up. Where are you heading? She was breathing a little heavily. "We're under duress," I informed her. "Amanda has been asking me if I've ever considered dating someone else and talking about dating other people." This was precisely that. "She's doing a trial run. She got me to dance with you, so she set me up for this." That provided her with the justification she needed to dance inside with Romeo. She said, "So, what are you doing? Are you just going to leave her here?" "That's exactly what I'm going to do," I replied. "You can't just leave me here, though. I traveled with you all. I have a heel complex. See, I apologize, I have no idea what I was thinking." "Corwin, don't worry," she remarked, "I don't enjoy being played any more than you do. Take me back to your house so I can get my car." My phone beeped as we were almost at our house. When I disregarded it, CBRA looked at me. When her phone rang, she picked it up. "We're almost at your place," she said. She turned to face me and whispered, "Amanda." No, I didn't think of it. "Remember how I rode with you guys? I didn't want to get lost because my ride was going to be leaving." "Nope, Amanda, this isn't me. Please don't put me in this predicament. Though we've been friends for a while, girl, you'll regret it if you mess with me." She hung up. "She wants you to go back and get her," she replied. "Well, I want a wife who doesn't play stupid games," I said. CBRA inquired, "Where did this come from?" "Marcy, I believe, from work," she uttered. "She constantly talks about how wonderful it is that she and Herb are in an open marriage, how it has improved their sex life, and how it has strengthened their bond. It's a ridiculous statement. Herb and she don't talk much and spend all of their time attempting to ruin their friendships. Since I've known them, he has been making advances on me. The sly one. For the past 2 years, she has been putting this garbage in our ears. I guess I was mistaken, Amanda wasn't foolish enough to fall for it. Corwin, I believe she's trying to set us up. She is aware of my love for you and my long-standing attraction to you." I almost choked on something. "Many thanks, C. This is very uncomfortable. Though I think you're pretty, I'm more of a one-woman kind of guy. I also have trouble sharing my toys. I apologize for involving you in this." She questioned, "Why should you be sorry? It had nothing to do with you at all. I'm not at all sorry that I got to dance with my ideal man. Corwin, could you please update me on the outcome?" She got in her car and drove off after I told her I would. After entering the house and giving it some thought, I took my belongings out of the master bathroom and placed them in the guest room. I went back, got my work stuff, and put that in there as well. Maybe from the drinks I'd had, but whatever the reason, I closed the door and fell asleep. I immediately fell asleep. The sound of footsteps in the hallway and the downstairs door slamming startled me half awake. Someone tapped on the bedroom door, and the knob twisted a couple of times. "Corwin, what the hell is going on?" Amanda Stage whispered something that I heard. She must have wanted to avoid waking the girls who were asleep a short distance down the hall. For 10 or so minutes, she just tapped and whispered, and I could hear her footsteps turning back toward our bedroom down the hall. That had been our bedroom, after all. What it was now, I had no idea. I found out that the guest bedroom bed was something I detested. Really, how many people have attempted to snooze on the guest bedroom bed? Before she woke up, I made an attempt to get up and sneak out the door. Yes, it was a cowardly scheme, but so what? All I wanted was not to see her. It was unsuccessful. While I was packing some files in my briefcase, she came down the stairs. She sputtered, "What the hell is wrong with you, Corwin?" She was completely insane. "I think you should be asking yourself that question," I replied. "What's that supposed to mean?" She was quite talkative. "You locked yourself in the spare bedroom after leaving me at the club last night, and now you're trying to sneak out of the house an hour before it's time for you to go to work. Do you now believe that there is a problem with me?" "Yes, that's precisely how I feel," I replied. I went to grab my briefcase. Every action I took was a response to your actions. Right now, I don't even want to look at you. You're not even aware of how close you are to earning my eternal ire. Put your act together, make sure you've covered all the bases, and be prepared to discuss this when I get home. I'll go get the girls and bring them over to Mom's place. This will be resolved by us. Her face went pale. I have no idea what you're talking about. What if I had something planned tonight? Up to you, I told her. If you're interested in fixing what's broken in this house, you'll be ready, and you'll stop with it if you're fine with the way things are. Do whatever the hell you want. Oh yeah, one more thing. Move your stuff into the spare bedroom. I like my bed. You aren't welcome in the same bed as me. She puffed up like a toad, but I wasn't going to listen to it. I just left her there and went to work. I picked up the girls from school, and they were happy to go to Graham's for the evening. I told Mom that Amanda and I were having some problems and we needed some time to ourselves. She just hugged me and told me she loved me. I was grateful not to have to answer a bunch of questions. Amanda was there when I got home. She'd made cookies, and there was a plate of them and a cup of coffee waiting for me. She stood up and clung to me for a long moment before kissing my cheek and sitting down beside me on the sofa. I helped myself to a cookie. They were very good, oatmeal with chocolate chips and M&Ms in them. Good, I said. She smiled, and it seemed like we were off to a good start. I hate to spoil all this amicability, Amanda, but that was some nasty stuff you pulled last night, I told her. It's bad enough that you did that to me, but you got Sarah involved. That was humiliating to both of us. It was disrespectful to me and to that sweet girl who's supposed to be your friend. She had trouble meeting my eye. I'm sorry, Corwin, she said. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I've just been trying to talk to you, and you've just shut me down. I thought maybe this would be a way for you to see some possibilities. Possibilities for what? I asked. What is it exactly that you're doing and thinking, Amanda? Just ask me, tell me, or whatever. You're playing games, and it's pissing me off. She hesitated for a minute and then just blurted it out. I was just thinking that we might try dating other people. Well, there's a little problem with that, I told her. Actually, there are several problems. The first one is that both of us happen to be married. Other married people do it, she said. Things aren't like they used to be. Lots of people have open marriages, and they love each other more than ever. It just makes their love for each other stronger. How do you know that? I asked her. Everyone knows that, she said. The girls at work talk about it all the time. Are these girls married? I asked her. Yes, that's how I know about it, she said. Give me a name, I said. Marcy, she said. Marcy and Herb have an open marriage, and their marriage is stronger than it's ever been. How do you know? I asked her. She told me, she answered. Well, that definitely means it's true, I said. How do you know she's not lying? I have an idea, I told her. Let's look it up. Google knows everything. Let's take a look at all these loving open marriages. She seemed a little shocked, but she came and sat beside me while I fired up my laptop. I got the browser open and typed in how many people have open marriages. I had no idea what we were going to find, but I wanted to know. Now I clicked on the first link. According to the survey we read, less than 1% of Americans have open marriages. We checked several other links, and the result was the same, less than 1%. I think she had expected something different, I thought aloud. That's still a lot of people, she said. That's 3 million, at least. That's not right, I said. I doubt very many children are married, open or otherwise. Okay, let's try this, I suggested. I typed in how many Americans expect their partners to be faithful. We clicked the link and found out that it was more than 95%. So, what do you suppose that means? I asked. I guess that most people aren't very open-minded, she said. I thought there'd be more people with alternative lifestyles. I hear about it all the time. I wonder how many of those open marriages end in divorce. Want to see? I asked. I don't think she did. Well, I did, and I wanted her to know. No, I typed in, how many open marriages end in divorce? The answer turned out to be that 92% of open marriages end in divorce in 5 years or less. Okay, I said. Let's see. Less than 1% of Americans are in an open marriage. That means that out of 1 million people, fewer than 10,000 are in open marriages. 92% of open marriages end in divorce. That means that out of that 10,000, there are 800 that don't end in divorce in 5 years. That's 800 out of 1 million, Amanda. You do the math. If 92% of 1% fails, how many successful open marriages are out there? What are the chances that ours would be one of the ones that work? Her voice was quiet. Not very good, she said. The paltry few that do succeed are the ones where both parties are on board, I told her. Look at the screen. 100% of the ones where one party is coerced into doing it fail. Ours would be one of those because I'm sure as hell not doing it willingly. Can you imagine how my feelings of resentment, competitiveness, jealousy, insecurity, betrayal, and lack of security would affect us if I were to allow this? The only possible reason I would do something so absurdly painful would be if I were desperate to keep you. I'm not that desperate. Other women are attracted to me, one told me so last night. If I were some pathetic loser that couldn't get a date or a sick freak that likes watching his wife screw other men, maybe I'd be interested in playing your game. I'm not that man, Amanda. I'd rather you shoot me in the head than break my heart. I don't think you can believe everything you see on the internet, she said feebly. No, you're probably right, I said. I think a good bit of it is probably, especially the part about things are different now, lots of people have open marriages. That's the part you shouldn't believe. Do you think you can believe everything that Marcy tells you? How many times has she been divorced? How about her husband? How many times has he been divorced? I don't know about him, she said quietly. Well, what about her? I asked. For times, she said quietly. So, you're taking marriage advice from a 4-time loser? I asked incredulously. It's not like that, she protested. She and Herb have a really strong marriage. I don't know what happened the other times. Maybe she married a-holes, or maybe she's the a-hole, I said. I was disgusted with this. I asked, see where all this crap was coming from? Marcy talked about this all the time. I also found out that Marcy and Herb hardly speak to each other and spend all their time trying to have sex with their friends. How do you think this is going to end, Amanda? What exactly do you think you're doing? Well, don't you think our sex life has been a little bit stale lately? She asked. No, I don't, I told her. I've been perfectly happy. How many times did you climax the last time? 6, she said. It's gotten weird because you want to play stupid games. Wait a minute, were those Marcy's idea too? I could tell by the look on her face that they were. Jesus Christ! I exploded. They were her idea. This is effing unbelievable. We have a really strong marriage, this could be so good for us and so exciting, she said. We could come home and tell each other about our experiences, and it would be so hot. Don't you have fantasies about me being with another man and then coming home and your brains out? Lots of men have that fantasy, it's in the top 10 male fantasies. Fantasy? I exploded. More like a nightmare. How do you know lots of men have this fantasy? You want to give it a Google? I don't know who's into this, but it makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. You do that, any of that, and we're through, Amanda. She looked shocked. What do you mean, we're through? Do you mean you divorce me? Is that all our marriage means to you? I thought you loved me more than that. I thought our marriage was strong, and you'd be open to things. Yeah, well, I thought it was strong too, I said. Apparently, it's not as strong as I thought. The fact that you're even talking like this tells me that our marriage doesn't mean to you what it means to me. What are you going to tell the girls? Mom and Dad are splitting up? Are you going to tell them why? We're not splitting up, she said. If we were, it would be because their dad doesn't love me enough to accept the fact that I have enough love for him to allow him to have other relationships. Guess again, I said. What they would be told is that their mother doesn't love their father enough to keep her marriage vows. She doesn't love them enough to make sure they have a good, loving home. Their mother wants to be out and doesn't give a about anyone else. We were both angry now, and she promptly nailed the lid on the coffin. I want this, she said. It's going to happen, Corwin. You might as well get used to it. You can either go with me on this journey, or you can sit at home and pout like a baby. That's where you're wrong, I told her. We're not going to survive this, Amanda. The first time you screw someone else, we're history. I won't be sitting at home, I'll be speaking to a lawyer. I'm going to give you a couple of options here. 1, we can just forget everything, and I'll talk to an attorney in the morning. We'll be divorced as soon as possible. 2, you can make an appointment to see a therapist in the morning to find out why you're back crazy. Right after that, you can make another appointment for us to see a marriage counselor. We'll try to fix this mess. I'll go to counseling too and work with you, but I'm not at all hopeful. This is the big screw up, Amanda. I've seen this coming ever since you started getting weird ideas. I think what Marcy has been feeding you is a lie, and you've obviously swallowed it. You think all these good things are going to happen. All that's going to happen is that you're going to make everyone you say love miserable, the girls, me and you. We're all going to suffer because you somehow built this idea up in your mind. Believe me, I won't be sitting at home. What are you going to do about it? She was taunting me now. You can't stop me. You don't own me, and I can do whatever I want. You won't divorce me, you have too much to lose. I'll get the girls in the house, and you'll be paying alimony and child support. Think about this, Corwin. Don't do anything stupid. I love you, I'm never going to leave you. This can be so exciting for us, we'll experience the thrill of all those first times without any of the risks or downsides. I'll come home, or you'll come home, and we'll be there for each other. It'll be so hot that it will be the best sex of our lives. Come on, baby, let's just give it a try. If you aren't happy, we'll stop, and that will be the end of it. She stood up, came over to my chair, and tried to wrap her arms around me and kiss me. I pushed her hands away and stood up. Don't touch me, I told her. I need to think about this. I'll let you know what I decide. I lied. I didn't need to think about it at all, I just needed to get my ducks in a row. She was probably right about everything she'd said concerning divorcing her, that whole system is messed up 9 ways from Sunday. I needed to make some moves. I left her there, went up to the master bedroom, and locked the door. After being on the computer for 30 minutes and on the phone for 10, I had a plan for the money. The problem was the girls. I checked, and under Georgia law, we lived in Atlanta, children over the age of 14 get to choose with whom they live. I was betting on me. Audra was a slam dunk, she was Daddy's princess, always had been. Olivia loved me, I knew that, but she thought a lot of her mother too. I knew there was no way Audra was going with Amanda, and I didn't think Olivia would want to be separated from her sister. I was betting that if I could get them to hear what their mother was planning, how she planned to use them as leverage to force me into this open marriage, they would want nothing to do with her. Yes, it was cynical, and I hated every thought I was having, but I wasn't the one changing the rules. That's what it amounted to. If Amanda had come to me before we got married, told me she wanted to stay faithful to each other for 19 years, then start screwing other people, would I have married her? Not a chance in hell. I'd have been out of there like a cat with its tail on fire. She knew it, and she would have done the same thing. Now she wanted to change the rules and force me to go along with it. She was threatening me with what she was going to do if I didn't. Had she come to me, told me she wanted to screw around and wanted a divorce, I'd have been hurt badly, but I would have done the decent thing. We'd have split everything up, figured out a custody agreement, and that would have been the end of it. Not after this extortion. The conversation happened 2 nights later. Amanda didn't know the girls were listening from the stairway. She started by apologizing. I wasn't buying it. So, you decided to see a therapist and start marriage counseling? I asked. There's nothing wrong with me, she snapped. It's you that has the problem. You're planning to have sex with other men, and I'm the one with the problem. I'm not planning anything, she said. I don't have some big plan worked up to go out and have sex. I mean, to date anyone else. I'm not even expecting that. I just think we should have the option if it comes up. I have a different idea, I told her. Just so you know, I have opportunities to cheat on you occasionally. It's not every day, but a dozen times down through the years, I've had my chances. Do you know what kept me from doing it? What? She asked. I did. I had a plan. I went into every one of those situations with the plan that I wasn't going to do it. That's what being married is all about, planning to have a good marriage, planning not to have sex with other people. If you don't plan to succeed, you're planning to fail. Isn't that what they say? That's what you're planning to do. You're planning to betray all the promises you made to everyone, me, your kids, God, and everyone else. How do you suppose the girls are going to take that? You're not going to tell them a damn thing, I hissed. You know the mother always gets custody of the kids. I'll take them away from you, and you'll never see them again. I'll make sure that every time you have a visit, something will come up. You better not breathe a word to them. She glared at me and stalked off somewhere. I heard a couple of faint gasps from the stairs and a muffled sob. Amanda was making too much noise to hear it. When I got to the stairs, the girls were gone. I went up to Audra's room, but it was empty. As I walked down the hall to Olivia's room, I could hear low voices inside. I knocked, and Olivia asked me what I wanted. Can I come in? I asked her. She opened the door. Come in, Dad, she said. We thought maybe it was Mom. They had both obviously been crying. I sat down between them and wrapped both of them up in my arms. I'm so sorry you had to hear that, I told them. I didn't think you would believe me if you didn't hear it for yourselves. It's okay, Dad, Olivia said. It's not your fault, it's her fault. I didn't believe you. Well, I didn't think you would lie to us, but I thought maybe you'd misunderstood her. We know now. How could she do that to you? How could she do it to us? I don't know, baby, I told her. I don't have a freaking clue. She's not thinking straight. She's been listening to a bunch of bad people and their stuff at work. She's decided she's going to do it, and that's it. I've tried everything I could think of to talk her out of it. She doesn't care. Do you think she's sick? Audra asked. I have no idea what makes her tick anymore, I said. I tried to get her to see a therapist. You heard me. I offered to go to marriage counseling. She's just not interested. What are we going to do? She asked. Nothing right now, I said. When she decides I've given up, she'll probably go on a date. When she does, we'll be ready. When she gets back, we'll be gone. I'll try to talk her out of it. I don't think she's going to listen. Are the two of you with me, or do you want to stay with her? They looked at each other for a minute. No, Dad, we're going with you, Audra said. My heart leaped, 19 years and in disappointment, but here was the reason I was going to be okay. I wouldn't regret a single minute as long as I had my babies. It took almost 2 months. They were the weirdest 2 months of my life. Amanda and I hardly spoke. We were like roommates who didn't like each other very well. She slept in the spare bedroom, and I slept in what had been our room. I tried to talk to her, convince her of the madness she was bent on. We were weeding the garden one evening, and I broached the subject. Amanda, do you feel like this plan of yours is working out? Is our marriage getting stronger? Where's all that hot sex you mentioned? Is this exciting, fulfilling? Is this what you thought was going to be so great? Is this what you had in mind? She looked over at me, and I saw the first hint of doubt in her eyes. It quickly turned to anger. If you weren't being an a-hole, it wouldn't be like this, she snapped. I don't want my wife planning to screw other people. She insists that she's going to do it whether I like it or not. I'm being the a-hole here. Yes, you are, she practically shouted. You won't even think about how great this could be for both of us. It doesn't have to be this way. You could just forget about your stubborn man pride, and everything would be perfect. Perfect for whom? I asked. It sure as hell isn't me. This is as bad as it could possibly be for me. You obviously don't give a about me. I love you so much more than you love me, she said bitterly. I love you enough to allow you your freedom, allow you to explore boundaries, and keep your place in my heart. I don't see that as love, I told her. I happen to think it's selfishness. I love you enough not to exercise my freedom. I love you enough not to have sex with other people, explore any boundaries. If you really loved me, that's what you'd do. When did you stop loving me, Amanda? I asked. I didn't, she started crying. I love you more than ever. That's how I can allow this. My love for you is stronger than you'd ever believe. So, love is you driving a stake in my heart? That's love to you? I asked. That's not what I'm doing, she was furious now. I'm going to the club with Bill White from work Friday night, she said. C is going with us. Please, Corwin, come with us. Give it a shot. I promise you won't be disappointed. It will be the hottest thing we've ever done. I pretended to think it over for a minute. Okay, what the hell? You're going to do it anyway, I guess I might as well go along for the ride. She was across the garden in a flash, her arms around me, and her body pressed against mine. Corwin, she sobbed. God, thank you, sweetheart. I was going nuts. I didn't think you'd ever even consider it. You won't be sorry, baby. I promise, you'll never regret this. I was regretting it already, but this situation was intolerable. I couldn't go on like this. I wondered if C would help me. I decided to give her a call. As it turned out, she was mad as hell. She had no idea what was going on when Mandy asked her to go clubbing. She didn't know Bill White was going to be there, and she sure as hell didn't know she was being set up to be with me. That 304, she said when I told her. I'm calling her now, and she's toast. C, do you trust me? I asked her. What the hell is that supposed to mean, she sputtered. I trusted that wife of yours too, I said calmly. Calm down, I told her. I need your help. I know you're upset, but I really need you to help me. This is the dividing line. I'm leaving her. We'll be divorced as soon as possible. I'm ready, but I need your help. I'm going to play along, and I need you to play with me. I could hear her breathing deeply into the phone. What have you got in mind? She asked. I'm going to pretend I'm down with all this, I told her. I'm going to ask you to go home with me, all you have to do is pretend you want to. She laughed. How do I know this isn't some devious plan to get me in your house? It is, I told her. I need you to take the girls to my new place while I get our stuff out of the house. That brought out the wicked side in her, and she agreed that her vengeance could wait. I hadn't been aware that she had a vengeful side, but it was going to work for me. All that week, Amanda had sex with me like there was no tomorrow. Friday, there wouldn't be a tomorrow for us. She was wild, telling me over and over again how great this was going to be and how much I was going to love it. I tried one more time Friday morning before I left for work. Are you very sure about this, Amanda? There's still time, you can still call it off. Hasn't this week been great with just us, Corwin? We've already been through all of that. If it turns out you don't like it, we can talk afterward, but I'm not changing my mind, she smiled at me. Yes, Corwin, this last week has been wonderful. I've loved it, and I love you. Tonight will be the best yet, you'll see. Thank you for doing this with me. You're going to love it, Corwin. I know you will. She danced her way out of the bedroom. Let's get this day over with. When Cra stopped by the house on Friday evening, she was absolutely stunning. Amanda was cute, petite, and slender, with a face that belonged on a teenager. Cra was in a whole different league. She was tall, and she had one of those bubble butts you hear so much about and almost never see. Amanda was a bit flat back there. She had on a short, tight red sheath dress with sequins all over it. She just looked amazing. I was wearing a sport coat and black pants with a ribbed t-shirt under the coat. She looked me up and down when I let her in. She grinned wryly at me. I know you're trying to get in my panties, she said. Well, yes, but not tonight, I said. This is all business. It'll have to wait for the panties. That's a shame, she said. I'm wearing a thong, and I think you'd like it. Show me. I pulled her close against me, putting my hands on the hem of her dress and gradually easing it up her long, beautiful legs toward that amazing ass. Stop that, Amanda could come in at any time, she whispered fiercely. Exactly, I said. We want her to think I'm playing her game. I continued to slide her dress up and over the firm contours of her ass. She giggled and tried to push my hands away, but I was relentless. Just as two of the most beautiful sights I'd ever seen popped into view, and I was about to give them a squeeze, Amanda walked in. She squealed and jerked her dress back down. Amanda just smiled. You two were getting an early start, I see. Save it until after we dance, and then get a room. I've already got a room, I told her. How about you and Bill get the room? She smirked at us, grabbed her clutch, and we were off. Bill met us at the club. I don't think the evening started the way he'd expected. I shook his hand and just crushed it. I've been powerlifting for years, and one thing it does if you lift without straps is it gives you quite a grip. I could see him start to go weak in the knees, and I let him go. You could tell he wanted to whimper and nurse his hand, but his macho image wouldn't let him. He was one of those pretty boys. Have you ever noticed that as men approach what some women would call ideal, the likelihood of there being a hairdresser or a Scientologist goes up to near infinity? Just look at Tom Cruise. I wondered about Bill. Say, Bill, you don't happen to be a hairdresser, do you? I asked him. Hell no, he said. Those guys are all gay. Yeah, I know, I said. He looked like he might want to make something out of that, but his hand hurt too badly. You know who L. Ron Hubbard is? I asked him. How did you know? He asked. I've been a Scientologist for 6 years, I shrugged. Just testing a theory, I said. Cra was about to choke. I'd mentioned my little theory to her before, and she was about to burst out laughing at any moment. We both looked over at Amanda, and she was beet red with fury. Maybe I'd shared too many of my private theories with her? Let's find a booth, she said, and stalked away with her back as stiff as a poker, Mr. Bill in her wake. As soon as he was 10 feet away, Cra burst out laughing. I grabbed her arm, and we followed them, with her wiping the tears from her eyes. You're a mean man, Corwin, she gasped. Yeah, well, this is a hell of a night, I told her. Compose yourself, C. Act like you're seducing me. She did a good job of it, too. I was more than halfway seduced by the time we got to the booth, watching that fantastic ass undulate in front of me. I decided I was all the way seduced by the time I danced with her twice. She was doing everything but screw me on the dance floor. Amanda was out doing her thing with Mr. Bill. When we got back the second time, you ready for the big show? I asked Cra. She looked up at me with those tilted-up eyes, a look in them that told me this wasn't all a game to her. They were huge and luminous brown, and I felt myself falling into them. I saw those full, luscious lips part slightly, and her little pointed tongue came out to moisten them. I couldn't help myself, I had to taste her. It was everything I thought it would be and more. I heard a noise, and Amanda and Mr. Bill were sliding back into the booth. Oh no, I said in my best Saturday Night Live voice impression. Look who's back. CRA got it, and so did Amanda, but Mr. Bill was oblivious. Don't do anything mean to him, sluggo, C chortled. Amanda swelled up like a pufferfish, and the little smirk vanished off her face. C and I are going to get out of here, I told them. You kids have fun now. Amanda walked us to the door. Are you sure you're okay, Corwin? She asked. You were being kind of a dick back there. No, I'm not okay, I told her. Mandy, it's not too late. You had your fun, just walk out of here right now with me. We'll go home and try to work things out. If you stay, this is for keeps. No, Corwin, she said. This is going to be so great for us. Just go and enjoy, see. It's going to be awesome, you'll see. Just try not to be such a dick, okay? Yeah, well, it's not my two you're interested in, is it, Mandy? I said. We both know it's Mr. Bill's dick. Good luck with that. We're out. She grabbed my arm. This is going to be so great, Corwin. You'll see. C is hot for you. You can tell me all about it when I get home. Aren't you spending the night with him? I asked. I figured with a stud like him, he'd go all night. Well, I guess I might. She was a little hesitant. I thought I'd get home around midnight and then we'd do our thing, you know, spicing things up. Oh, right, I slapped myself on the forehead. I forgot. Well, see you when you get there. If C and I are still, you know, banging, try to be quiet, okay? She gave me a look and kissed me. I hoped she enjoyed it, it would be the last one. I went out and got in the car, C was waiting. You sure you know what you're doing, Corwin? She asked. You've been married a long time. Yes, I'm sure, I sighed. I expected you to be more upset than this, she said. After a while, you just run out of juice, I said. I was upset for a long time, I'm just sick now, tired and sick. I just want it over somehow. I've lost the energy to be upset. I've cried gallons of tears, and the crying time is over, it's time to move on. Let's go get the girls, I said. When we pulled up, the moving truck was already being loaded. The girls were carrying their clothes downstairs and packing them in big plastic tubs. We weren't taking much furniture, the bed out of the master suite, the girls' beds, their TVs and electronics, and the big screen we'd replaced 6 months ago with a bigger one. When the girls finished packing, she took them in her car, and they drove to our new place. It was about as far from the old one as we could get and still be in the same school district. The guys finished packing, and I took a last look around. It looked empty and silent, the ghosts of 19 years were all that remained. I sighed, took off my wedding ring, and dropped it on the kitchen table along with my cell phone. The girls' phones were already there, and it was time to go. I felt the melancholy close in, I was going out with a whimper, a few petty jabs at Amanda and Mr. Bill, and I was walking away from 19 years that had been pretty damn good. Oh well, happens. I locked up, loaded my tools from the garage into the back of my truck, and I was gone. The girls were pretty excited about the new place. It had a pool in the backyard, and they couldn't wait to try it out. You like that, Babby? I asked Audra. Yeet, she said. I had no idea what the hell yeet was, but it sounded good. CRA was there, and she still looked amazing. But if she had been Jennifer Lawrence in the flesh, I was just tired. Not that I prefer Jennifer Lawrence to CRA, you understand, but you know what I mean. She sensed that, I think, and she just gave me a dazzling smile, a quick peck on the cheek, and she was gone, the lingering smell of her perfume the only reminder that she'd been there. We went to bed, and surprisingly, I slept. Not well, but I did sleep. I got up and made coffee the next morning, and the girls came in after a bit. We had a Danish Kringle and chocolate milk for breakfast. They watched cartoons on TV until noon, and then 2 gorgeous little bikini-clad bundles of energy were splashing in the pool while I sat in a lounger and watched. I wasn't really paying attention. I wondered what Mandy was doing. She'd be frantic by now. I was sure she was calling everyone she could think of, trying to figure out what had happened. She was going to have a tough time finding us. I had sold the company and made off like a bandit, so I wasn't working. The girls were on summer vacation, they weren't in school. Our only destination was the grocery store, which we reached by walking and taking the bus. The truck was parked in the garage. I knew she had the cops searching for us, but they would run into trouble since they weren't allowed to drive. She had no choice but to contact us via electronic means. Every time the girls and I logged onto social media, she would send messages and tweets from Instagram, and our inboxes would be flooded with messages. We read them, but we made no comment. I knew she would eventually find us, but she needed to work and pay her bills, so let her discover us the hard way. I wasn't paying, and she would quickly fall behind if she didn't either. I knew she wouldn't want to lose the substantial equity we had in the house. 3 weeks later, I was approached by a private investigator in the grocery store, so I guess she became desperate. "It was Mr. Decker," he said. I asked, "Who wants to know?" He said, "Your wife hired me to find you." "I'm going to tell her where you are," he replied. "You ought to contact her." I told him, "I'll have you charged with stalking if I see you around." Me? Pursuing? It changed. Not that I was going to call her. As it happened, I didn't have to because Mandy had given the police a tip that I had abducted the girls. I was asked to go down to the station and take care of things. They took me into custody and took us downtown when I refused. Amanda was waiting for us at the station when we arrived, the girls having gone in another car. She attempted to embrace the girls, but they pushed her away and a woman came to pick them and Amanda. I entered one room while they entered another. The police began questioning me as though they were interested in me. "I intend to remain silent, and I want to speak to an attorney," was the only other thing I said after identifying myself and letting them see that they already had my driver's license. One of them said, "He's lawyering up," which I heard. I picked up the phone they gave me and dialed John Trimble. 45 minutes later, he was there, C was with him. This was part of our plan. Sorting everything out took about 3 hours. The girls claimed that there had been no kidnapping and that they were with me because they wanted to be and because they didn't want to talk to their mother. From there, JN took care of it. He emphasized that there was no custody order from the court, that both parents were eligible for custody under Georgia law, and that children older than 14 could choose which parent they wanted to live with. They were forced to release us. C strolled out with us, and Amanda followed closely, urging the girls to have a conversation with her. We were the only two in the parking lot when they got into CRA's car and left. Amanda appeared disheveled and was sobbing uncontrollably. She dropped to her knees, turning those hopeless eyes toward me. "Please, Corwin, speak with me for the love of God. I beg you to please." "I seem to remember begging you not to screw Mr. Bill," I replied. "You paid no attention." "Why ought I to?" "Please, Corwin, don't treat me like this," she cried out. "All right, let me apologize. Could we just go somewhere and have a conversation?" I said, "Okay, let's talk. Where do you want to go?" "Please take me home," she begged. "Would you just let us go home? I want to stay here and not let anyone see me like this." I said to her, "We can go to my house. I'm not interested in attending yours. I'm not sure who you've been taking advantage of there." She nodded her head while letting out a small cry of disappointment. She said, "Okay, Corwin, whatever you want. But it's your home too." I had no intention of arguing with her. I was not going to be stuck in a car with her, even though she wanted me to ride with her. She came home with me after I called for a cab. I was aware that the girls were staying the night with C. Bra. They were growing quite close to her, having known her their entire lives. I made Amanda a cup of coffee when she came in. The silence stretched uncomfortably as we sat at the bar. We hadn't felt awkward in silence together since our third date, but that was definitely the case right now. At last, she said, "What do you want, Corwin?" I said, "Did I say I wanted anything?" "I mean, what do you want me to do?" said she. "How can I persuade you to return home? What should I do to get access to the girls, according to you?" "Hey, I have no control over you seeing the girls," I replied. "They made this decision." "What information did you give them?" "You shared with them some information. They've been poisoned by you to hurt me. I've read about this." "Are you certain Marcy did not inform you of that?" Her eyes fell when I asked. Marcy was obviously the wisdom oracle. She said, "What do you want?" once more. "You know what the funny thing is?" I inquired. "It's funny because I haven't mentioned you to them at all. I just informed them that I was moving out and that they would have to choose a new roommate." "Amanda, do you want to know who told them?" "Indeed, you did. It was you who informed them." She said, "What do you mean?" "I have not made any statement." "At what point would I have spoken up?" "Do you recall that evening in the living room when you intimidated me?" I inquired. She obviously remembered. "They listened to everything you said while seated on the steps." She began to cry as her face turned pale. "It wasn't my intention," she sobbed. "I was just. She was unable to go on. "Well, it seems like they did," I remarked. "In actuality, I believe you did as well. The majority, I suppose, prevails. How do I go about doing this?" Her entreaties were pathetic. Mine had also been appalling. "With them, I have no idea, and I don't give a damn," I replied. "You have to fix what you messed up." She said, "What can I do with you?" "You could, in fact, file for divorce." "I just want you to come home, I don't want a divorce." I told her, "I'm at home. I'm not residing with you." "This was all a huge mistake, Corwin, and I apologize," she said. "I shouldn't have made you do this. I ought to have realized that you didn't want it and accepted it. I accept it now. Is it too much to ask for your forgiveness so we can see that marriage counselor? I'll follow your instructions and visit a therapist." "I'm sorry too," I responded. "It's not that I didn't want it, it's just that you wanted it. I want you to start the divorce process." "Amanda, I don't want anything to do with you. We're done because you seem like the kind of person who could pull off what you did. You believed that you could hold the children over my head and make me become you believed that you could take me hostage and do with me as you pleased. You've given up now that you've realized you can't accomplish that. Amanda, it's too late, get a divorce." "You bastard," the woman cried out. "You sold the company, took all of our money, and our bank accounts are worth maybe $50,000. I own half of the money you stole. I never touched a dime of your money. I had to sell the company quickly, so I sold it at a huge loss. I only kept the money I was paid. What do you know?" That was all very true. I have not a dime left of it. It was securely hidden in an offshore bank account. I had come to the conclusion that doing so should happen prior to the divorce. Documents revealed that I had sold the company to a Danish firm for less than my outstanding taxes. In addition, I had paid the IRS far too much, and they were holding the funds to offset future tax obligations. Nothing had happened to our brokerage accounts, and I knew I would have to surrender half of them. For the girls, I had established a trust, and they would be well taken care of for 3 months. I had been shopping at every supermarket, convenience store, and Walmart in the community. After using my debit card, I answered yes each time the machine asked if I wanted my money back. If 3 individuals had been working at each of those stores for $60 or $80 apiece, we could have quickly accumulated a significant amount of money. The fact that every single transaction was legal was fantastic. I had an enormous amount of cash in an old chest in a warehouse. I'd use it as soon as the coast was clear. I told Amanda, "You have the house. We have amassed sufficient equity for you to sell it, pay off the mortgage, and live comfortably for a while. Maybe you can move in with Mr. Bill after you sell the house." She gasped, "I wonder how his wife would feel about that. I didn't know he was married." "No, you desired an open marriage, it didn't matter that he was married." Perhaps he does. Amanda, it's time to move on and get a divorce. We're through. I got up and went to the door. She followed, sobbing and wringing her hands. She glanced up at me as she stopped at the door. Tell the girls I love them and I'm sorry. Will you please do that for me, Corwin? Yes, I will inform them. You know I'm not going to give up. I do not want a divorce, so I am not going to file for one. I want you to go back to your rightful home. Corwin, I wish you were a little more understanding, but I understand that's not going to happen. I never meant for things to turn out this way. I didn't think you were sincere when you said you weren't even trying. I continue to believe that had you just given it a shot, you would have discovered that you enjoyed it. But as I can see, you're not even trying. Despite that, I still love you, and I will continue to try. I was too exhausted to challenge her. I called Sebra after seeing her out the door and taking a moment to gather myself. She didn't enter the house after taking the girls home. If it was possible, Audra and Olivia were even more irate with their mother than they had been previously. I chose to hold off on sending them Amanda's message for a while because I knew they wouldn't be open to it at all. Amanda arrived with dinner at approximately 4:30 on the second day. Along with a large basket of garlic bread and French-cut green beans, she had prepared a chicken tetrazzini. Amanda attempted to embrace Olivia when she opened the door, but she was met with a stiff arm. With a "Hi, baby," Amanda said. Olivia yelled, "Dad, you have to come out here." Her mother began, "I'm so sorry, baby," with Olivia. "I adore you and have been terribly missing you. My only desire is to..." Olivia silenced her. She yelled, "I don't want to hear it. To those you love, you do not do what you did. Leave me alone, please." As she stalked off, Amanda almost passed out. She was carrying a basket that contained food, so I grabbed it and pulled her over to the sofa. With her face buried in her hands, she sat down. She cried, "What have I done? They're against me, Corwin. They won't even offer me an opportunity." "Well, what you did to them was pretty hateful," I replied. "Amanda, I don't think they'll ever trust you again. I won't get in the way of you trying to establish a relationship of some kind with them. However, you are to blame, not them or me." She beseeched me. I made dinner, looking at me. I regret for her. She was in pain, but she had done it to herself. I've never kicked stray dogs before. I said, "Let me go talk to them. Seek out the dishes in the kitchen, and let us observe the outcome." "I'm grateful, Corwin," she uttered. "I need a tissue." I went up to speak with the girls after getting her a box. They were sultry. Audra remarked, "It's unbelievable that she just showed up here." What was her thought process? If she could just feed us, would everything be all right? She ruined our family. I said to her, "I know, kitten. The rubble is what she got herself into when she threw in the hand grenade. She still doesn't get it and believes that my problem is mine. It's all right, I can deal with that." I refused to return to her. "It's okay if you want to be with her, I want you to stay with me. Nothing can ever make me stop loving you too." "I'd much rather hang myself," Olivia declared. "We're staying with you, Dad," I gave them a big hug. "Do you think we could go down and eat with your mother and be civil to her?" I inquired. Olivia inquired, "Do you want us to?" "Yes, I do, darling," I replied. "Just please don't be cruel to her. Don't be mean, but let her know how you feel." "Do you really think you can do that?" After they both said they could, we had the most uncomfortable dinner ever. The girls responded to Amanda's attempt to start a conversation, but they only offered her the bare minimum. After tidying up and putting away the dishes, she prepared to leave. She said, "Audra, is it okay if I hug you?" "It's not, Amanda. You're no longer my mother, but I'll talk to you if you'd like," Audra answered. Without saying anything more, the two girls went to their rooms. Amanda was just devastated by that. It took her 30 minutes to gather herself enough to leave for home. She was pathetic, and I felt sorry for her, but I wasn't to blame. I cherished every second of it. She kept going over, roughly once a week, but the girls kept breaking her heart. She persisted in trying to convince me to move back in with her and didn't file for divorce. I filed 6 months later. I believe that Amanda came to terms with the fact that we were over when the divorce became official. She was granted visitation rights by the court, but for some reason, each time she tried to go, something prevented it. I sincerely hoped she discovered someone who fit her free-spirited lifestyle. Indeed, I had. I'm still single and have devoted my entire life to my girls. Please feel free to leave your comments in the space provided below, listeners. Remember to share, subscribe, and like the content.